So, in one of my last videos, I simply shared who I plan to vote for in the upcoming general election in Trinidad. And the response was a wave of abuse, mainly from UNC supporters, and not because of my arguments, but simply because of the choice I said I would be making. And to me, that exposed a serious problem in politics, racial voting in Trinidad. So it left me asking this question: are we voting on policies, or are we voting based on race? Judging by the responses I got, I think the answer is fairly clear. Now, I wanted to break that down and show why this mindset is keeping us stuck as a country. Everyone knows that politics in Trinidad is divided. The PNM has strong support from the African community, whilst the UNC is mainly Indo-Trinidadians. But here's the issue. If we keep voting along racial lines, politicians will never be held to account. If we keep voting along racial lines, politicians would never be held accountable. When a party knows that they will get votes no matter what, they don't have to work for that vote. If they know you're going to vote for them irregardless of policies, they don't have to work for your vote. If they know you're going to vote for them along racial lines, they don't have to work for your vote. And that's how corruption, crime, and poor governance continues, no matter who's in power. So, to be fair, to be unbiased, I'm going to list some reasons as to why I have decided to vote the way I've decided to vote. Now, I'm going to list a couple of things the UNC failed on whilst they were in power between 2010 and 2015. Some of you may know, some you may not know, some of you may jog your memory. But like I said, to be fair and biased, I will also list some things the PNM have gotten wrong in their term in the last 10 years or so. Now, as it pertains to the UNC, I don't know if anyone remembers the Section 34 scandal, which was a law that was secretly passed that would have freed certain UNC allies from corruption charges in Trinidad. The only thing that stopped that from happening was public backlash that forced the government to repeal it. But that in itself exposed the corruption open to the UNC party. Does anyone remember the live sport scandal? The live sport scandal. This was a youth program intended to help at-risk young men turned into absolute financial disaster, with millions lost to fraud. Has any of you heard about Cambridge Analytica? You remember the Do So movement, DOSO, that was created by Cambridge Analytica? The UNC found to have worked with this company. This company no longer exists, but you can use Google to Google and find out who they were. Everything's online. I've even written an article myself about Cambridge Analytica that you may find online if you were to Google it. The UNC knowingly worked with Cambridge Analytica, a global political data firm, to manipulate voters. The Do So campaign was a design to suppress young black voters not to turn out, giving the UNC an advantage. This was in 2010, and it worked. Because if you can recall, that was the last time the UNC won a general election. To be fair and unbiased, I'd give you some mistakes or some things relating to corruption from the PNM. Handling crime and national security. Under the PNM, crime has skyrocketed, as we know. Despite years in power, gang violence, murders, and insecurity remains a major problem in Trinidad. A major, major problem. In fact, we finished last year with around 630 murders. That's astronomical for a country of 1.4 million people. 630 odd murders. Now, if you look at somewhere like London, where I currently reside, we've had, in the last year, for population in London of about 8 million people, we had just over 100 murders in London. So the maths ain't mathsing, for want of a better term. The crime rate in Trinidad is astronomical. The PNM have not gotten a grip on this. The idea that a state of emergency is going to fix the issues that Trinidad face is a nonsense. A state of emergency is a temporary fix, and it will not work. The only thing that's been proven to work to combat crime is investment. Investing in people, whether it be youngsters, whoever it may be, investing in people. And whilst we will have a criminal element wherever you go in the world, you will always have a criminal element. That's just who we are. Human nature, unfortunately. The vast majority of people committing crime are doing so because of their situation. That's just facts. That's research facts. So I'm not here trying to make excuses for anyone to go out and commit crime. That's the last thing I would do. I'm not making excuses for people who go out and commit crime. But if you look at any part of the world where there is poverty, where there isn't opportunities, where there's a lack of education, where there's a breakdown of families, you will find crime. And that is the long and short of it. The PNM have failed. They have failed drastically. And I cannot say any better of the UNC. When they were in power, the crime rate was pretty much similar, if not the same. So they've been both terrible on crime. Management of the energy sector. Now, the first thing that people would go to is the closure of Petrotrin. Petrotrin was, the PNM was in power when Petrotrin shut down in 2018, I believe. And that was purely because of government mismanagement. Incessant government mismanagement, corruption, money being allegedly invested into the company that was taken by people who were managing the company, etc., etc. It was massive corruption, what led to the failure of Petrotrin. If you have a business that you're not reinvesting money into, especially a business like Petrotrin, that you are not reinvesting money into, then that business model failed to stay up to standard with the international community. Selling refined oil to the rest of the world needs you to stay updated with the rest of the world. And if you're not updating your business model, you're not putting money back into the company. Instead, you're siphoning money out of the company. And whilst I understand that a profit needs to be made, of course, you also need to invest in that company. That plus mismanagement and corruption saw the downfall of Petrotrin. And that's not just the PNM's fault. That's also the UNC, because they presided over the downfall of Petrotrin as well. Though they were not in power directly when Petrotrin went into administration, they added to it indirectly. So they have blame to take in this as well. Public sector and corruption and overspending. From questionable contracts to the Seabridge ferry controversy. Couldn't even say the word. The Seabridge ferry controversy. The PNM has also been accused of mismanaging public funds. So, for fairness and balance, there are some comparison with both parties. Like I've said to you in my previous video as well, I think they've both been terrible. They've both done an atrocious job for Trinidad. You only have to look at the crime rate to understand that. In one of my previous videos, I talked about the money. Follow the money. Trinidad does not have a middle class anymore. The money is with the rich. So you have the rich, and you have the poor. You have the rich and you have the poor. We talk about foreign investors coming into Trinidad, and it sounds great. Foreign investors, oh yes, someone's coming in to take over Petrotrin. What does that mean for Trinidad? If government do not put strong policies in place, if government does not put strong policies in place, and government are paid off and are in the pockets of these investors, then the money made by the investors, the likes of Shell, who come into the country to take our natural resources, the money goes out of the country, and that's the last we will see of it. They need to be held accountable. There needs to be policies in place. That means, yes, these companies will make a profit. Of course, they are a business after all. They don't come here for charitable reasons. They go to these places because there is something in it for them. Yes, we do know that. We are not naive enough to that fact. But if there is no policies in place, if there is corruption, then the money they make, the profit, 100% of the profit they make goes out of the country and is not reinvested back into the country, making it a terrible deal. So foreign investment, if mismanaged by government who are supposed to manage these people, if mismanaged, is a terrible thing for Trinidad, for the Caribbean, for Trinidad and Tobago. For those of you who've been pulling me on that, when I say Trinidad, I mean Trinidad and Tobago, believe me. No disrespect to my Tobago friends, Tobagonians. I love you just the same. Trinidad and Tobago. So, for me, this is not about the PNM or the UNC. It's about demanding better for all from all politicians. Excuse me. We must demand better from all politicians, irregardless of what party affiliation they're with. We're Trinidadians, after all. We should be fighting for better for the country, not who looks like us. If we continue voting based on race instead of performance, we will stay trapped in the same cycle of failure. They say the definition of madness is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. This appears to be what we are repeatedly doing in Trinidad. No party should feel entitled to your vote. They need to earn it. So ask yourself, who has the best plan for crime, jobs, and development? Who has the best plan for crime, jobs, and development, irregardless of race? These are the questions we should be asking ourselves, and not this madness, this insanity of racial line voting. Trinidad is not going to get any better. It's not going to get any better whether you're Indian, black, white, Chinese. It's not going to get any better for you if you vote along those lines. We have to do better. So in closing, I'd say, let's have a real conversation. Do you think racial voting is a problem in Trinidad like I do? I've outlined to you why I believe it is. I want to know your thoughts. And if you found this video insightful, please like, share, and subscribe. For more real talk, it'll run up to the Trinidad election. I'd like to use this page to empower people, to hopefully educate people, hopefully for you to educate me in the comments, as some of you have. I read all of your comments and I try to respond to everyone as best as I can. If you're going to be abusive and you're going to attack me like you did in the last video along racial lines, it would not be tolerated. I will delete you simply. I would not respond to you. So come correct and we could have a conversation. Or we could have a conversation for the betterment of Trinidad. I catch you guys on the next video. For now, much love. Take care. Peace.